Good morning, guys. How are you? Hope everybody's doing great today. Sorry, I was a couple minutes late there. I was actually just checking out some stuff and I lost track of the time. I guess it happens. I see already on there, I see Squiffy Bear. Good morning to you. Joe Fisher. Yeah, thanks, Joe, for joining. You say you're new to the channel. I appreciate you being here. Rick Bowser, good morning to you. Stacia Logue, good morning to you. Katie Turner and your mother, thank you for joining this morning. Guys, it's really great to see you all. Really good. All right, let me see. Let's get the chat up on the window for you. And I have it messed up. Let me fix it. All right. Not that one. Oh, man. There we go. No. There. There's the chat. Oh, my gosh. Thanks, guys, for putting up with me. Appreciate it. All right. You know the drill this morning, so put any of your topics in the chat. I have a couple of holdovers from last week. But as you know, anything can change. We can change it up. We can do anything we want to do. So please bring your topics to the table. Squiffy Bear, I see you mentioned here. What is considered to be the creature described as behemoth in Job 40, 15 through 24? Okay, great. All right. Let me get that in the topic list here, and then Pittsburgh Joe, I saw your question there. I'll answer you in just 1 second. All right. Yeah, Pittsburgh Joe, you say you see I use localhost for a local website. What software is it? Yeah, the I can show you that. Let's see. So yeah, you've probably seen me do this before, particularly with this application I call Deep Tree. And this is an application I wrote, and that's why it's running here on my box. It doesn't exist in the real world, only on my box. It's essentially a database where I can store all the different research things I've done and then search through that. So you can, COVID-19. Let's see here, COVID. Yeah, you can see here, as I've researched, for instance, COVID, I have about 1,000 pages of of different things about COVID, from the celebrities who came down with COVID to CDC, FDA information on COVID, exemptions, lockdowns, mandates, pandemic collapses, passports, propaganda, statistics, therapeutics and treatments, the vaccines themselves, litigation related to COVID, variants, PCR tests, the projections of COVID before March 2020, and whistleblowers on COVID and worldwide lockdowns and protests. So, you can see that there's a lot, and so this just gives me a way to catalog things as I find them when I feel like it's important, or I want a record. I catalog this in this software. So that's one of the things. Now, I do have some other things, of course, running, as you mentioned, localhost on my box. So, I have lots of projects in the works all the time, lots of old projects that I use from time to time. I have a local version of my own website, bible-scribe.com, that's running locally. I can also play with that too if I need to change or fix something. So anyway, to answer your question, I think that's what you see when I go to localhost a lot. So Tanda, it's good morning to you. I see you there. I think I missed you before. Good morning from Massachusetts. Yeah, good. Pittsburgh Joe, does it have a CMS or is it only a database? It's kind of like a CMS, and it generates. By the way, it generates pages. So let me go back here and I'll show you. So like it generates pages from the content. So for instance, COVID-19 survival rates, the statistic, it generated a page for me. These pages are also traversable. Let's see. So these pages are traversable, and I can export this to an entire website. I've considered doing it before, but some of the information in this database and this application is, of course, very not politically correct, against the narrative. Some of it's just vile and disgusting because, you know, the evil people that run the world are vile and disgusting. So I really don't know that I could just publish this somewhere. If I did, I have a feeling that, you know, for instance, the hosting companies wouldn't like what I had on there, and I'd have to be really careful about publishing this type of thing. So, you know, I have a way now that I can publish this information to my website. In fact, at bible-scribe.com, there are some of these pages on my website now that are, some of these pages are exported now from that tool. So when I get some research and I want to save that and get it on the website for you guys, for instance, to be able to see that, a lot of times I'm going to start publishing it from that tool to get it into the app, so that, you know, when we come here, this page is published straight from the Deeptree tool, my database. So, yeah, I'm trying to connect a lot of those things, and I'm just trying to make it easier to publish information. There's so much, right? But yeah, I have to be careful about some of that. I have to be careful. So anyway, I hope that answers your question, Pittsburgh. Yeah, lots of things. Charles Pascal, good morning to you. Rafa Sieber, good morning. Joe Fisher, you say you're not fully caught up on my videos, so you won't throw any topics out just yet, but you're here because of Pastor Joel. Well, good, Joe. I'm glad you're here. Yeah, Joel is a good friend of mine. And Katie, you ask how Joel is doing. He's got some rough things going on right now. He needs to be in our prayers. I'll say that much. He needs to be in our prayers. He's going through some hard stuff. So, whoa. I just saw a heart. Can y'all make hearts? Can you guys make hearts? And like, I just saw a little floating heart just pop up. Can y'all do that? Oh, there's another. There it is. Oh man, that's cool. I didn't know we could do that here. Yeah, Joe, you say he's struggling but still smiling. Yes, that's good. That is good. All right, guys, go ahead and get topics out. So I'll show you what I've got today for the topics so far. Topics so far are these. So, Squiffy Bear, you mentioned just now what is considered to be the creature described as behemoth in Job 40, 15 through 24. And then Terry Barnes from last week. Now, I'll kind of separate these so you see what was last week. And were carryovers. And that was Terry Barnes' question about David. And because he was such a good king, she didn't understand why Absolom wanted to kill him so badly. Which is a fair question. It's definitely a fair question. So I did read up on this week, and I feel better about talking about that. So I'm going to probably do that today. Last week, April Parker mentioned the fifth trumpet and the drying of the Euphrates River, part of the narrative of the book of Revelation, and we're going to talk a little bit about that. I think we can at least read the verses and talk about what they might mean. And I can give you my assessment. So please, guys, throw out any other topics that you have, and I will go ahead and do my best with them as I always do. Man, it's been an interesting week. I don't know, guys, about you, but is it just me, or does there feel like there's a widening gap between people about how they understand the world and how they understand things and what they understand and what they don't? It seems like a widening gap, man. I wish it was coming closer together, where more people were kind of waking up to what's going on in our world, but it seems like it's getting further apart. All right, Rafa, you mentioned the topic. What do I think is coming up? What is their plan? What's the camp of the saints? Have you checked the moon map? Is the earth bigger and the beloved city is somewhere hidden? Rafa, that's like 5 topics. Let's see. Yeah, Rafa, I'm not sure what to do with all that. Maybe I'll see if there's one of those that I can do. Rafa, you're always thinking, man. That's what I like about you. You're always thinking. You're on top of it. Pittsburgh Joe, you asked, do pre-mills want a magic glorified body to force them to get right with God? Pittsburgh, I'm reading some sarcasm in there. That's okay. I get it. Yeah, I'll put that on the list. We can talk about that, the pre-millennial kind of viewpoint of the glorified body, the rapture, all those things that are going to fix their lives, right? Pick my favorite. Okay, thanks, Rafa. All right. So guys, go ahead, and if there's any other topics, I'm all ears. Again, some of these are bigger than others. Some are smaller, some are larger. Right now, we've got Squiffy Bear's Behemoth, and we got Rafa Sieber's list of items. I'm interested to talk about the moon map because I have seen this information before, and I would love to at least mention something about it. I may do the moon map. I'll highlight that there. Pittsburgh Joe, you asked about the premillennials and the glorified body and their rapture and everything. We can talk about that a little bit. So let's see. Any others? I'll give you just a couple minutes, guys. Otherwise, we'll just go into some of these. And while you're still thinking, I'll go ahead and talk just a little bit about what I studied this week. This rabbit trail of Pompeii and Mount Vesuvius is a big rabbit trail, and I am following it to its conclusion. So I've been studying that a lot this week. Particular of interest to me is the fire that started in Rome the year after Vesuvius erupted and burned down all the pagan temples in Rome. So what I've been doing is I've been learning about the temples that were burned down and who their gods were, and starting to understand how those gods, those angelic gods is what they are, were worshipped through different civilizations, for instance, Mesopotamia, Sumeria, and all those different places, Egypt, and how the gods translated to the Roman gods. And now if I understand that, what I can do is I can map God's judgment against the nations and the prophecies of the Old Testament. And that's kind of what I feel like is happening there. And so, yeah, that study continues. Again, I'm driving towards a video on Pompeii and how it fits into prophecy, and especially also this fire that burned through Rome in 80 AD, the year after. But actually, it's going to overlap a little with some of what we're going to talk about today with April Parker's topic of the fifth trumpet and the drying of the Euphrates. I'll at least be mentioning it in that discussion as we go forward. Another thing I started looking into, as you guys know, I always am interested in the messaging behind movies. One of the movies I knew was just rife with this kind of messaging of the elite, messaging of the cabal, so to speak, is the movie Jurassic World and Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom. Those two movies together. What I believe those movies are telling us in the same metaphorical fashion they always use in these movies is they're talking about the fall of the kingdom of these elite power brokers of the world. And they would be classified, as far as I can tell, as the dinosaurs in the movie, their kingdom falling. There's, by the way, in both movies, there's a pyramid in the middle of their kingdom. And for instance, in the second movie, there's a raptor dinosaur in a child's bedroom, hovering over her bed as if it's going to, of course, do something wicked to the child. That's just a sample of the imagery they push at us to communicate, or I don't know, it's almost like they cataloged the fall of the cabal in that movie. It's in a mansion, it's elite, there's a rich families, and all these different signs and symbols that point straight to what's going on in our world right now. The kingdom of the elite is falling. So that's been very interesting to me. I've done a lot of looking at that this week. Then another thing that's quite interesting to me that I've studied this week is I ran across some information about 1492, the year 1492. Does anyone on the call know what happened in 1492? Anybody know what happened in 1492? Rick Bowser already knows what I'm going to talk about in this little tidbit here. Yeah, that's right, Joe Fisher. In 1492, Columbus sailed the ocean blue. Well, what else happened? You know what that I did not know happened? What I found out happened and is more consequential, globally consequential, than Columbus sailing. Because I always thought about Columbus and his sail to America as is anticlimactic in a way, because first in school they taught us, oh, that's the first time anyone sailed to the New World, to America, right? Blah, blah, blah. Well, then you learn that, well, no, it actually wasn't. There was Amerigo Vespucci. There were all these other explorers. It was so anticlimactic. Then I was like, well, why did we care about Columbus? And of course, they pushed the narrative with that of the flat Earth idea going, being put to shame. And so they teach you that Columbus sailed in 1492 from Spain to America and proved the Earth wasn't flat, when he wasn't the first one. We know by a long shot he wasn't the first one. And if you know anything about archaeology, there have been a lot of artifacts found in America from like Phoenicia. So the Phoenicians in 2, 3, 4,000 BC apparently sailed over here too. So, this whole narrative of 1492 and what happened in that year is interesting. Then I found this out. That in 1492, King Ferdinand and Queen Isabella of Spain, after they got into power, the first thing they did was expel the Jews from Spain. All the Jews. There had already for decades earlier been the Spanish Inquisition. If you didn't know what the Spanish Inquisition was all about, it was mostly about getting the Jews either converted to Christianity or expelled from the country of Spain. I just thought it quite interesting that all of that seems much more consequential than what Columbus did, but yet the only thing we are ever taught about the year 1492 is that Columbus sailed the ocean blue. How about this? We'll change the song to be, in 1492, Ferdinand expelled the Jews. It's pretty crazy, isn't it? Yeah, because that's exactly what happened that year. And you can read all about it if you look. But most of us don't look, you know. It's very interesting. Superfluity of naughtiness, by the way, I see your comment there. Chris G, I see you. Good morning, guys. And superfluity, your comment is well received. Did you see the ridiculous last minute of the alleged India moon landing and all the technicians' gleeful, joyful clapping of its success? Well, they really have no choice, right, but to pretend it's a success. So, yeah, it was really bad. Stacia, you're right. It looked kind of like Atari graphics. Bloop, 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 bloop. It was really bad, and I tried to figure out, like, why did they do this? Why did they do this? Is this... I don't know. And I don't know who controls their space agency over there, right? Probably the same people that run NASA. Who knows? But it's just amazing to me that, like you're saying, it's so bad. It's so bad. Anyway. All right. So I guess we'll get started, guys. What else did I have? Yeah, I just wanted to mention in way of announcements, just always remember my website's there, bible-scribe.com is on the screen here. You can get there. You can see a lot of my old stuff. You can kind of maybe find things a little bit better there, hopefully. There's also the Bible app there that you can use, that I use for my research. You're going to see me use it today. And then I wanted to mention this too, that I have been sensing and being, of course I get contacted from lots of people recently, or all the time because of my Bible Scribe channel, right? And I talk to you guys via email, I talk to some people via phone and texting and stuff. And I just wanted to say that what I feel right now is that a lot of people are being attacked demonically for many different reasons, but in many different ways. But I'm just seeing this a lot right now. And I guess my own perception of that is that, snakes only attack when they're cornered or feel like they're cornered. And I think that Satan's kingdom is kind of cornered right now, and they're very exposed. And I just think people are being attacked because that's what Satan does when he is cornered. And I just want us to be aware. I want you to be aware. In fact, there's a couple people I'm going to try to connect up on our channel so that we can help each other more. And I'm just saying that to say that, we are more than just, let's go watch Bible Scribe on Sundays. This is a family, and it's God's family, and we can reach out and help each other. And so I wanted to say that and say that I do see a lot of demonic attack right now. So the first way we can help each other is by prayer, which I mention almost every week. We just have to pray for one another. And I thank you guys for participating. And I can't state enough how important it is. So I just wanted to say it again. And all right. Well, with that, guys, well, let's get rolling. Let's do it. Okay. Let's see here. So our first topic is going to be, I think I'll do Terry Barnes' topic of David and Absolom from last week. She essentially asked this: why did David, or Absolom, David's son, try to usurp him? And as I haven't seen Terry Barnes join the live stream yet, I'm kind of disappointed that she won't hear it live, but she can watch it back. I wanted to talk about this real quickly. So I did read through this today, and really to understand all about Absalom, you kind of have to read most of 2 Samuel. You know, you have to really kind of get in there and dig. So what I did was I came, and I can start digging from here, show you a little bit of what I found or how I feel about this. You know, Terry was concerned because she was like, you know, David was such a good king, and he was a man after God's own heart, all this other stuff. Why would Absalom be so upset with him that he tried to undercut him, essentially rule the people instead of David and get the people on his side? It was like a coup. He staged a coup against David. And it is interesting to read the story. But let's see here. I think we'll start in 2 Samuel 13. So Absalom was David's son and had a sister named Tamar, okay? And then Amnon was another one of David's sons, okay? And Amnon loved Tamar. And long story short, Tamar was a virgin, but Amnon was just smitten, and he ended up raping Tamar, okay? And so what happened was then Absalom got super upset about it, like super upset, and trying to see, I can't remember if he kills her. Absalom says to her, "Has Amnon been with thee?" And she had to tell that yes, he had. And then trying to follow the events here really fast so we don't spend too much time, but yes. Absalom essentially kills Amnon. He doesn't do it by his own hand. He gets a group to go kill Amnon. And so Amnon is killed, and then Absalom fled. He flees. And where does he go? This is the key to understanding, I think, a lot of this. Absalom flees, and he goes to Talmai, the son of Ammihud, king of Geshur. Okay, now it's hard when we read through these stories to grasp all the connections and the things of these people. And remember, when Terry came to me a week or two ago and asked me about this topic, I had to admit, like, I don't remember the story well enough to even address it. And it took me a couple weeks to get back to the Bible and read through all of 2 Samuel and, you know, get to this understanding, kind of chase down some of these trails. But you know, it says that David mourned for his son. Like he cared. David cared for Absalom. And if you remember, Absalom was really, really good looking. Like, I think it says, is it in the next chapter? Let me see where it is. Absalom. I always spell it right. Wrong. Absalom. So let's see. 2 Samuel. Yeah, 14. Yeah, in all Israel it says, there was none so much praised as Absalom for his beauty, from the sole of his foot to the crown of his head. So, you know, this description of Absalom, he was a good-looking guy, right? Pretty boy, you may say. He was probably the apple of his dad's eye. David loved him a lot. And so it's interesting. We have to, I think, ask ourselves, why did he flee and go to Geshur? Why did he go to Geshur? Right here in verse 37 of chapter 13 in 2 Samuel. He flees to Talmai, son of Ammihud, king of Geshur. And the answer is actually back further in 2 Samuel chapter 3. So this is interesting, and I understood more about David and some of his wives and sons and stuff like that. So in chapter 3, now there was a long war between the house of Saul and the house of David, but David grew stronger and stronger. The house of Saul grew weaker. Unto David were sons born in Hebron, and his firstborn was Amnon. of Ahinoam the Jezreelitess. So he has Amnon, who was the one that was killed by Absalom for raping Tamar. Ahinoam was the wife of David that she had Amnon with, and she was from Jezreel. Okay, and then his second son, Chileab, was of Abigail, the wife of Nabal the Carmelite. So this is David taking wives of different nations and having a child as probably part of an agreement between the nations for peace. Do you see kind of how that, to me, that's what I thought I was seeing here. And like third, it says there was Absalom, the son of Maacah, the daughter of Talmai, king of Geshur. So Talmai is the king of Geshur. And that's why Absalom goes to Talmai, to Geshur, to flee from David, because he killed Amnon, but because that's his homeland. That's where his mother was from, Maacah. Okay? And so to me, if you think of it in a kind of a soap opera sense, I wonder if, because there's no other information that says, and Absalom grew angry with David because. There's nothing that says that. But what I feel is true is that Absalom, because, for instance, Amnon was David's son, well, regardless of all that, I just think that there was some kind of jealousy or some kind of innate, like, I'm not from here. I'm from, you know how some children get as they grow older, and, you know, especially like adopted children or whatever, some kind of deal with that in a good way, and some deal with it in a very bad way for them. And I think that Absalom in this case felt more affinity to his mother, perhaps, and to his homeland. And so when he does this thing and he kills Amnon for sleeping with his sister Tamar. By the way, Amnon would have probably been seen as one of David's like real children or native children. And so there might have been this jealousy, this tension, right? And when he raped Tamar, Absalom was like, I hate you. I hate your father. I hate my father. I want to go back to my homeland, Geshur. And so he did that. And as he went back to his homeland, Geshur, he spent about 2 years there, is what I read. And then he came back to Israel and he started undercutting David. He would wait in the city and he would wait for people to have problems. And they would say, if you come to me, you submit yourself to my leadership, I will be the decider, the governor between you. And so Absalom starts creating a coup inside David's kingdom, and he gets the people of Israel all ginned up to follow him. And in the end, if I remember correctly, Joab and his military men kill Absalom because he is trying to overthrow the reign of David, his father. So I just had a feeling as I read this that this was the problem. It was that, first of all, the thing with Tamar and Amnon just, of course, would ruin you. You know, he was really upset about it, but I think it built on some kind of, jealousy or longing for his own homeland, the homeland of his mother, not David. So I think that just grew into something that, he ended up hating David, wanted to take the kingdom over if he could, and he failed. So I don't think it had anything to do, in sense of Terry Barnes, your question that you asked, I don't think it had anything to do with David being a good king or not. I don't think it was about that. I think it was about Absalom being jealous, prideful of his own heritage, and despising David's. So I think that's kind of a good take. I think that's my take at this point based on what I read in 2 Samuel. So let me check out your comments, guys, and see where you are. So Charles Pascal, did David have 2 wives? Yes, he had many, apparently. As we read in 2 Samuel chapter 3, it looks like, I read of at least 3. And then it says in verse 4 of chapter 3, there's a fourth, Adonijah, the son of Haggith, David and Haggith. And then the fifth was Shephatiah, the son of Abital. These are all wives of David's. So yes, he had many wives. It goes on to a sixth, etc. So yeah. Yeah, and that's just the way it was, especially for kings back then. For kings. So let's see. Pittsburgh Joe, to your point, wasn't Lucifer described as beautiful? Yeah, I suppose that's true. Yeah, Absolom was described as beautiful. Superfluity, you say, at what point in the Bible was having multiple wives acceptable and then finally dismissed? Superfluity, that is a totally different topic, okay? Totally different. We've done this topic before, but it's a really tough one. And I'll just say that everything I read seems to be that by the time of Christ, by the time when Christ came on the scene, that polygamy was looked down upon. And I think because we have the examples in the Old Testament of like Solomon, who was a king, and David, who was a king, and those are the guys we're thinking about when we're talking about polygamy, that practice was done for different reasons, like I explained, like connecting kingdoms and peace and doing things like this. In fact, in chapter 3, verse 3 of 2 Samuel, as I read, his second son was Chileab, and that was of Abigail, who was, it says, the wife of Nabal, the Carmelite. So apparently they shared their wives so that they could procreate, and then I think it was a sign of peace between the kingdoms. And so David and Abigail, Nabal the Carmelite's wife, had a son named Chileab, and that was a sign of peace between the nations, perhaps. That's my take on it. But I do think that everything I read, and I've read early church fathers about this topic, looking for information, it sounds like it just was out of favor at the time of Christ and forward. Like it wasn't in favor anymore. It was more desirable to be one man and one woman. And, I don't know all of the why. I don't know all of the why. It's not explained very much. There is a church father that talks about this and why it changed. I believe the mention is that it was in the old times, I don't want to misspeak here and tell you all wrong. It's something like it was because of the change in the law and what was it? Something about the weakness of the law or the people in that time. I don't know. I didn't feel when I read that information from that church father that it was very convincing, other than it was a take on it. And it apparently at least represented the mindset of the time in the first century that polygamy had fallen out of favor with people, and that it was not seen as a good thing to have multiple wives any longer. I don't think it was seen as like a sin or a evil thing, especially if the wives were faithful and you were faithful to the wives. That's very different than our culture, I understand, but it was still accepted, but not in favor, not ideal at the time. And in fact, of course, in the New Testament, we see them teaching that abstinence was a good thing, celibacy. So, yeah, Tomcat, polygamy was never okayed by God, but neither were fruit roll-ups. I mean, we can't make assumptions that just because something was never stamp of approval by God that it was evil. And I'm not suggesting that it's not I'm not suggesting it today. I don't suggest it. But I don't have any good information that shows me specifically, yes, it was good, then it was bad, and here's why. I don't have that information. Rick Bowser, what do I think God thinks about it? Are y'all trying to drive me into the ditch? I don't think God honestly cares very much. I'll just say it that way. I just don't think God cares very much. Honestly, like, and this is not just specific about polygamy. I don't think God cares very much about all of the marriage and sexuality type things that we stress so much about. I mean, I think there's good and bad and there's right and wrong in those situations, but we stress about that as if it's like this monumental thing. I don't think that it's supposed to be quite that monumental. It's literally the way that humans procreate is you get married. You marry yourself to another person. You flesh to flesh. You connect, and you have children. That is marriage. And that's what I believe the ancient knowledge, the ancient view of marriage was. Not a legal agreement, not a contract between two people. It was literally, you take a wife, you marry her, you have children, you're married. And I just don't think that all the topics surrounding marriage and sexuality are half as important as we make them. I know they feel important. I think that that's part of what our culture and our society has done to us. I literally believe that's true. Like, it's really simple. It's really simple. Marry a woman who you want to have a family with. Have a family and then be satisfied. Be satisfied in doing a good thing, because that's a good thing. Bringing up children and bringing them up in the knowledge of God. What could be more beautiful, more simple? Marry a woman, have children, make a good life. That's what at the end of your life you'll look back at and say, that was a great life. I at least did a good thing. I married a good woman. We had children together. Thank you, Lord. In the end. But all this nonsense we get into about our sexuality, our needs, our urges, our desires, our, oh, do I love you anymore? Do this, do that. All this garbage. And then polygamy on top of it. Do we need polygamy? Does any man need polygamy, really? I just don't think it's... I just don't think it's either, number one, important or needed anymore. Whatever the need was back then, I don't see it anymore. When there's only like a couple hundred people on the whole earth, maybe polygamy makes more sense. I don't know. But but nowadays, it just doesn't make a lot of sense. So I don't know if any of that's striking a chord with anyone, but it's just kind of the way I feel. I just feel like there's so much focus in our culture on sexuality and marriage, and it's just unwarranted. It's like, did you find a person that you wanted to have a family with, and do you just take care of that person? Do you do what's good for that person? Then you love them. That's what it is. That's what it's all about. Anyway, I just... Yeah, Joe Fisher. Yeah, I'm not 100% sure on the polygamy subject. I don't know that I'll ever be, because I can't find any good information, even from the early church fathers on it. And you'd think they would talk about it a little bit more, but they just don't a whole lot. Maybe I can get the reference to the one that I did find talking about it, and I'll maybe put that in the chat or the description notes after I get done here. Squiffy Bear, you say the modern husband seems to struggle with one wife, never mind many. I know, and it's because it's part of this whole culture of... I think I have to change the topic now, don't I? I think I have to change the topic. I'm going to change the topic. Modern marriage. It's actually one I've wanted to talk about for a while. Say some of these things, and just get them out there. But I just think that we get in our heads some crazy notion of the ideas of like soulmates and romance, and the idea that love is some emotion that builds and builds till you can't deny it anymore. All these, quote, magical views on what love is. Love is nothing more. Listen to me. Love is nothing more, zero more, than deciding I want to take care of this person and I want to do what's best for this person. See, if that's your basis of love, then it doesn't matter if that person does something ugly to you, or mean or wrong, or you feel like they're not sensitive to you, they're not caring enough for you. The fact is, you've decided, I'm going to take care of this person. This person is the one that God wants me to take care of. And so in that context, all the other stuff doesn't make sense, doesn't even matter. You can work through problems that you feel like you have with whatever physical needs you think you have. In the end, whether you get your physical needs met or your emotional needs met is irrelevant to your love for that person. Do you understand that? Like, there's no tit for tat. Even if you think there's no tit for tat. It's not, I'm going to do this for you if you do this for me. If there's any of that, it's false. And it's not going to, in the end, it's not going to sustain you through your life unless you're just kind of delusional. There's always going to be a time, no matter who the person is, where they're going to make you so mad you can't stand to look at their face. Okay? And that will always happen. So my question is for people that don't see marriage as a forever thing, and they can't stay with their spouse, they want to leave. When you were about to marry them, did someone come to you and tell you, like, there's going to be a day when they do something horrible to you, like they're going to hurt you, and so what are you going to do about it? How are you going to deal with that? Your spouse is literally, I wish someone had said this to me. I wish someone would say this to every person who's going to get married. There will be at least a day, maybe a many, in your future with this person where you're going to really literally be so angry with them you won't know what to do. You could use the word hate. You may hate them at one point in the future. So how are you going to deal with that when it happens? Because it's going to happen. Well, if you're committed to love the person, then you know that is just you're upset and it's going to last a little bit. But then after that, I'm going to continue loving this person. So the reality is, here's the other reality that nobody thinks about in the moment, but you leave that person and you go find another. Do you think that other person's not going to have their own issues? And the whole lie, the myth of the soulmate out there, the whole myth of the soulmate is really detrimental to relationships forming and lasting. It's really detrimental. I really want to say that. Like, I've waffled on that in the past. I'm like, is there a thing called a soulmate? No, there's no soulmate. There is the person that you, at whatever point in time, you decide you're going to love that person, you're going to start a family with that person. That's the person. That is the person. There's no other person. And so I really, it's hard for me to understand why some people, I guess, just even if, at least be honest about it. Like if you just are with let's say a man is with a woman for 15 years or something, and one day he sees this other lady, at the gym, I don't know, out, whatever, and he's like, wow, she's pretty, and they start to talk, and then he's like, man, this is a better woman for me, right? It's just funny to me. It's like, okay, so you did all these things, you started a family, a life with this other person, and now you are now intrigued by another one you don't know. You don't know anything about this other person. And no matter how much you would say you think they're your soulmate or whatever, you don't know them as well as the other person. You just don't know them. So I just wish at least that people like that would not say, well, I don't love the other one anymore. I love the new one. I wish they wouldn't lie about stuff. I wish they wouldn't say, oh, I've grown apart from the old one and I feel like the new one is the best thing for me. I just wish that they would be honest and say, yeah, I'm reneging on what I said I was going to do, which was love the first one. And I'm reneging on that. Now I'm going to pretend to love the second one, because you have to pretend. If you left your wife for another woman, then that is pretend love, because there's no way that woman can believe that you will stay with her forever because you just left another woman, right? So the act of involving yourself with another person proves that you are not worthy of marriage. That you can't do it. The act of leaving your spouse proves that you aren't worthy of another one. And if anyone on the call, by the way, is divorced and that's been your past, I'm not trying to down you. I'm not trying to call you out. That's not what this is about. I'm just saying, let's get an idea of what love really is. So if you're in a new marriage, you're in a different, your second, your third, I don't care. You need to, in this marriage, you need to think about what love is. Is it really an emotion that follows, makes you follow over here or over there? Or, if it's an emotion and a soulmate feeling, then you better hope that lasts. Because if it doesn't, you're going to fall out of love again, right? But instead, if you're in a relationship and you decide, I'm just going to love the person. I'm going to love this person. I'm going to take care of them for the rest of their lives. I want to, if I can, make them better as we go, do what's best for them, and not really expect anything in return. That's the other part of love, I think, is that there can be nothing expected in return. Nothing. And you have to get it out of your head that person's supposed to do this for me. No, you can't do that. As soon as you do that, you're setting up expectations. You're setting up, bars that they have to leap over, or else what? See, that's the problem. There's no or else with love. You either are going to take care of that person and stick with them because you have committed to, or you're not, and it's not love. If you're making up things they have to do for you to love them, then it's false. It's not love. Now, it's obviously sometimes hard for your spouse or you to love the other person. It's hard sometimes. It's not easy. But that's inconsequential. It really doesn't matter. In fact, we probably make it harder than it really is. It's just, we have good days and bad days, right? Everybody does. So I just, I guess that's my rant, my spiel for today on that. It's such a thing to me that, again, people blow things so far out of proportion. Love really, I think, is so simple. It's so simple to me now. It's just, I want to do what's best for this person. And I may not be perfect at it, but I'm going to try. And and committing to that even when things go bad, and it's like, even if it gets hard and super hard, painful, I'm going to keep doing that after. I'm just going to keep doing that. And, the way y'all are talking, I see what you're saying, Squiffy Bear, about the way God treats us. And that's so true, because if you look in the Old Testament, think about how much God put up with his bride, Israel, right? And that's kind of the symbolism used in the prophecy in the Old Testament. The bride of Israel, how many times he stood faithful to them and called them back. He's like, I'm still here waiting for you to come back to me. And all the prophecies are like, come back to me. I'm the one that takes care of you. I care about you, but you're worshiping false idols. You're prostituting yourself with these other nations, all this other stuff. God gives us a very pure example of this in the Bible. And for thousands of years, God put up with it and tried to win them back, tried to bring them back. And so I do think about that honestly too. When I think about my wife and the way I need to be with her, it's like a rock that she can rely on, right? A rock that is a foundation of both the relationship and our family. And, those things are so important, especially men. I'm talking to you, for your families. If you're not the rock that the waves crash against, that shelters your family, then you need to think about what you're doing and maybe change some things. But literally, us men specifically, we're supposed to be like God in that we're steadfast and faithful. And especially in this sense of, I think, the love that's portrayed in the marriage, I think that we are the start of that. The men is the start of the love that's portrayed in marriage. And that's a personal opinion. I'm not saying you ladies aren't a part of the equation. You certainly are. I'm just saying, men have to lay the foundation of that. And that foundation, by the way, is not, I'm going to give you everything you want, everything you ever desired. It's not fulfilling all the dreams of the other person. It's not, draining your bank account so they're happy, and it's not giving them all the credit cards so they're happy. It's not that. It's what is best for the person. So sometimes what is best for the person, by the way, whether it's for the wife or for the husband, is not the most comfortable thing. And that's where some marriages run off the rails, because they're like, well, if you're not doing this, blah, 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 then you don't love me. And then it falls apart because they don't understand love. You don't understand. Well, no, I do love you, and that's why I'm doing it. Making this decision, doing this thing, whatever it is. So, anyway, I'll stop ranting now. I think that's enough. But it's a great topic. I don't know. It came, I guess, out of the David and Absolom thing, and marriage, polygamy. We're going down some crazy trail here, so I guess we'll bring it back. So let's see. What have we got on the topic list now? Let's see what's next. All right. Next on the topic list, Rafa Sieber, the moon map. That's what we're doing today, Rafa. Of all your topics, we're doing the moon map. Okay. Yeah. All right, the moon map. This is an interesting one. I don't know how many of you have heard about this, but I know there's a lot of people online. I think the last time I saw it was from a guy named Iwaranon. Anyway, not that you should go watch his stuff. In fact, I don't really like much of his stuff at all. So, moon map. I can't remember what they call this. There's a name for this map. Moon shows a map of the world. did you know that the moon shows us a map of the world according to some people? So this is what we're talking about, the moon map. So people are saying that, yeah, the world map is on the face of the moon. And of course, it kind of assumes a little bit of a flat earth cosmology. Well, it does assume that. So it does assume a flat earth cosmology. And let's see if I can get it in view. Do you see that? So it's hard to show on the screen. It's so small. Hold on. I'm going to get my drawing pen out and try to show you. Hoping you can see this. Do you see how that's kind of the layout of the Earth? And so here we have Russia, and that's not big enough. Hold on. Here we have, this is supposedly America and Canada and Arctic and, oh wait, I'm sorry, that's Africa. I'm wrong. That's Africa. This is Europe. I'm getting twisted around because of the way this is. And then this over here would be America and South America, I believe. Or that says Atlantis on this map. South America here. And Australia over here. Do you see how that it's kind of like splayed out in a funny shape there? Well, the reason it's funny looking is because this is someone's interpretation of what's on the moon. Because this is a moon map, actually. So if you look just at the moon, and I'm not going to have it twisted the right way, but you can see these dark spots that are supposedly the planes. Well, the idea is that if you turn this kind of like almost 180 degrees, so this stuff is around on the bottom. I think from the map we were looking at, this, let's see. I'm not going to know exactly how they're saying it's based. I think it's just spun around, so I think they're saying that, I'm not 100% sure, but this might be Africa, Europe, Russia. I think Australia is way over here somewhere or something like that. I can't remember, but you see how kind of if you twist it, you might come up with that supposition, right? That the moon is literally embedded, or the map of the Earth is embedded in the moon. Now, it's a total speculation, and by the way, the people that do make this claim, they don't explain these other lands that are supposedly outside of the scope of the nations or the continents that we know of. And so they'll make up things like, they call this Terra Vista, and another one, and then they say this is Atlantis, that it's actually still there, or it was. And the hard part about it is it's very speculative. And I actually, by the way, one time not too far back, before I knew about this theory, I had thought of that. I had thought, what if it's reflecting somehow the light from the Earth and it gets imprinted in the moon, and that's what we're seeing there? Because I was like, that does look kind of like this, I don't know, country or whatever. I thought the same thing. Now, I don't know that means it's true. It just means that it's an idea that happens. So I guess all I can say about this particular idea is that if you're interested in it, feel free to explore, right? Here's another person made a kind of a detailed map that was supposed to show how this works, I guess. But you can see how they took the moon and they map it all. And so this map, by the way, this one's saying, oh, this is the Earth as we know it, the flat part of the Earth that we know about and the countries we know about. And this is the ice wall around that topology, right? Which is an interesting theory, right? And then they're saying all the rest of this out here is frozen. I don't know where they get the information, the research. I have no idea. So again, this is one of those things where it's like, this idea exists, but I don't know what to do with it. I really don't. Let me check out you guys' chat here. See if what else you all are saying. Squiffy Bear, yes. Ewaranon, or yeah, is it Ewaranon? Yeah, he's the British guy. He's very British. Yeah. Rafa, you said you first heard it from Ewar, but there's a channel that's working on it. Vibes of Cosmos, maybe. I don't know. Some footage showing a transparent moon. You can see stars behind it. Interesting stuff. Yeah, Squiffy, I've seen that. I can't explain that either. Man, very interesting that you would see stars through the moon. But if that's true, which, I mean, the pictures are there to prove it. Sometimes you can see stars through the moon. I've never seen that phenomenon, by the way. I've never seen that. It's just interesting to think about, but could be very indicative of the nature of the moon. The moon itself is supposed to be a luminary created by God in the scriptures. So it's an angel, if you will, a type of angel, not like probably other angels, but different. But perhaps the nature of it is that you can see through it. And if it is lightened up, by the way, it does seem to be that the moon gets its energy from somewhere, maybe the sun, and that it gives it off in this strange luminous way. But there's just some really weird, interesting properties of the moon. And the fact that you can possibly see through it does not surprise me too much. And you guys may have seen the amateur videos of the stars. And when, with the best zoom ins that we got, we zoom in on stars and planets, and they look totally different than anything we've been told. They look like little strange undulating balls of plasma or goo or something. It's very strange that we can't, supposedly they're supposed to be one thing, and then, people get out there with optics that are decent and they can't see what they're told they're supposed to see. Yeah. Laura Masood, good morning to you. I'm glad to have you. Thank you for joining. But yeah, it's a topic that I'm just interested in keeping an eye on, as time goes on. It's not something that I would ever be able to prove. Stacia, you say the moon is its own light source and does not require the sun to illuminate it. Okay. Katie, you said one night you were observing the moon to see if you could see the stars behind it, and a lunar eclipse happened, and you didn't know what was going on. It freaked you out. That's awesome. That's great. Yeah. I mean, and by the way, I know, I've mentioned this before, but I don't know who's heard what, but if you do tests with moonlight, I know you guys probably know this, but moonlight cools. It's not hot. So people have done temperature tests in the moonlight and in the moon shade, and the shade is warmer than the moonlight, the direct moonlight. In fact, I've done tests where I took a magnifying glass out on a full moon, and I magnified moonlight down onto my hand, and it got cold. It was cold. You can do that yourself. You can do all sorts of weird experiments. But yeah, moonlight cools. It's a totally different thing than sunlight. Totally different. And by the way, that should give you some clues as to the nature of light. Different kinds of light. Very different things. For instance, why do we have to use LED bulbs now, which I think are making me blind? versus incandescent lights. They're totally different. They affect your body differently. And now incandescent lights are starting to be banned everywhere, which I think is horrible. I think it's going to be terrible for our eyes. I think the next generations of people are probably going to have terrible cataracts and be blind, honestly. What I've read is that LEDs are specifically linked to cataracts. So I don't know. We'll see what happens in time. I may be blind soon. I know my eyesight's getting worse. That's why I have to wear these stupid glasses. But yes, Squiffy, candlelight. I swear, I do want to do that. I mean, I have done that some, but it's really hard to read a book by candlelight. Man, it's really hard. I've tried. Katie Turner, you say you've had vision issues since your job has LED lights? Yep. I'm not surprised. Yeah, I do have some blue light filtering glasses, but they do change the temperature so heavily of what I'm looking at. Sometimes it's hard for me to even use those and see what I need to see, but yeah, Rafa, I was thinking about oil lamps too. I was thinking that myself. Like, I would love to go back to oil lamps for evening. Like, some of those hurricane lamps, I was thinking, man, that'd be cool to get one of those and use that and mess around with it. I think that'd be really cool. But there are actually some places online, by the way, that you can still get incandescent bulbs. And I think I'm going to actually do that as long as I can. Squiffy Bear, you're blind in one eye? Oh no. You want an eye patch? You see an eye patch in your future? Please don't wear a black eye patch. Wear something pretty, like feathers and ruffles and, I don't know, pearls or something. All right, let's see. Let's go to the next topic. Now that I'm talking about ruffles, what's wrong with me? Pittsburgh Joe's topic. All right. Let's see. How do you want to word this? You said, Pittsburgh Joe, you said, do pre-mills want a magic glorified body to force them to get right with God? Let's do this. Let's call it Premillennials and what? And expectations. I don't know what else to call it. There's so many expectations. So let's just talk about this idea, the thing of premillennialism, and it's what I came from. So I still have a soft space in my heart for premillennials. But we can't just hate them now. Can't hate them, you know. So the whole idea of premillennialism, which includes the belief that Jesus is going to come back for the church, not Israel, but the church. Jesus is going to come back for just the church, and he's going to appear in the clouds, and somehow on the globe earth that most Protestants believe in, they're all going to see him at the same time from every corner of the earth. And he's going to wink or snap his fingers, boop, and then all the Christians are going to fly up to heaven. So they may leave their clothes behind, and I don't know, but that's what some of the movies say. Their clothes will be left behind, and the non-Christians will be left behind, and they'll be swept up, and they'll be out of this nasty earth they hate so bad. It's so terrible. And they will be with Jesus, and they won't have to go through any tribulation. It saves them from the tribulation. So there's no bad things for them, only bad things for the other people, the bad people. And then they'll live happily ever after with God in heaven, with streets of gold and everything else, right? So what I see looking back, and if, the thing that's funny to me is that I didn't see it when I was in it, right? You never do. But looking back, I think to myself, I realize how docile it made me. I thought that because Jesus was going to do this thing in the future that was going to save me, that was going to save us, that could snap us out at any minute, even the next minute when I'm, going to get a hamburger, when I'm going to, I don't know, do whatever. I could roll over in bed and he'd snap us up in any minute. It kind of put this level of I don't care on everything. It kind of makes you just feel like you don't care about anything, right? It's terrible. There's people trafficking children out of Hawaii right now, right? And so is it okay for me to just say, well, that's just because God said that, the preacher told me that the earth was going to get bad and it's part of the end times, so I don't have to do anything about it. Jesus is going to take care of it in a little while, right? So I'll let those children get trafficked for now, Or, what is it? I don't know. It could be a million things. It's, the government is going off the rails and is crazy. And even my local government, the local school system is trying to teach my children transgenderism. And, it's so horrible. Oh, woe is me. But, we could get taken out at any moment. Jesus is coming back, so I'm just not worried about it. I think it'll be okay in the end. God's going to take care of that. I don't have to do anything about it, right? And that's what my mindset was before. It was a get out of jail free card for doing anything about the bad things in this world or the bad things in my life. It was a get out of jail free card for it's a get out of jail free card for many people to be obese and to just eat to their satisfaction and be woe is me because I'm overweight and fat and horrible looking and I'm unhealthy and I don't know, I can do whatever I want because Jesus is coming back. He's going to save me from this bad body that I've got, this bad body. I don't know. There's about a million ways we could talk about this lethargy of Christianity. I think that that's what it is. It's Christians being lazy about the time at hand and what they need to do and how they need to build the kingdom on earth and how they need to tell people and help others and all these different things that Christians in the past historically have done. We instead are using eschatology as an excuse to do nothing. And it's really sad. It's really sad for Christianity in general. And it's really sad. Let me catch up with what y'all are saying here. Joe Fisher, by the way, it's really good to have you this morning. Thanks for joining us. It is crazy in retrospect. It's hard again. It's hard to see when you're doing it. You think you're trusting in God. You think you're having faith, in Jesus to save you, and that's a good thing. It's a good thing to have faith in God and Christ. But what's not good is to let it put you in a place of lethargy, of ineffectiveness in your Christian walk. You think that verse about the 1,000 years day is a statement that God's outside of time, but we are given time references through the scriptures. Interesting. We could talk about that. It kind of get us off track, but yeah, I'm not crazy about the majority interpretations of that verse. The 1,000 years as a day in 1 Peter is simply to say that God is faithful to fulfill his promises. And that's what that context is there. And I just don't feel comfortable taking that and using it as a hermeneutic for interpretation, which I don't do. And some do that. And in fact, I think even my friend Joel does some of that. So I just wanted to mention that since you're new and, that so you understand a little bit more about me. Stacia, yes, lukewarmness, I guess that's a good way to put it. Pittsburgh Joe, you say they have Offset entering the kingdom today. That's true. That's true, Joe. I like the way you said that. Because they're thinking every moment like, oh, I'm entering the kingdom. I'm about to go. It's about to happen. So in that sense, then nothing happens. Then they do nothing. And it's just funny. Squiffy Bear, you say you found yourself to be incapacitated with anxiety. Intellectually, you know you're not supposed to have a spirit of fear, but yeah, I agree with that. I mean, anxiety, a lot of people do have that anxiety. Now, that's not something that I ever experienced. I just, for some reason, I don't think I am an anxious person, or how do I say this? That stuff doesn't worry me. Eschatological, like end times apocalypse, doesn't worry me because it's like, I guess to me, it's like in my mind, if everyone is affected, then there's nothing I can do about it. Like if it's bad, like back when they taught me Antichrist stuff, Antichrist this, he's going to rule the world, he's going to make it really bad on Christians. There's a possibility we'll be there for that. And it'll be horrible. They'll just be pulling us out of our houses and torturing us and throwing us in jail for a while, right? Before the rapture or whatever, because they didn't even know then. They didn't even know their own eschatology. But yeah, I remember that stuff and I was like, well, I guess if everybody's getting torn out of their houses and thrown in jail, I won't be able to do anything about it. I guess if they try to take my kids from me, I'll shoot them. I'll at least take one with me and then I'll get shot and killed. So I was okay with that. Like it doesn't Squiffy Bear. So I just didn't have that anxiousness. But some people online, they are subscribed to channels on YouTube. Let me do this. I just want to see. I haven't done this recently, and I'm curious in a way, morbidly sort of. If I go to YouTube, let's do this. Wait, let's not go to YouTube on my channel. Let's go on a private window. So it's not going to be perfect because they still have my IP address when I go this way, but it won't be attached to my account. So let's see this. This is just a random hit from a private window on YouTube. What are they talking about? This is worldwide, and this is not Christian. So this is interesting. Counter piracy. I'm wondering if there's any eschatological stuff on here. I wouldn't be surprised. I don't see any right now. I don't see any yet. So let's see what happens if I end times prophecy. YouTube serving up for end times prophecy. How about the Kwok brothers?
So like a lot of you, I'm witnessing the world get weirder and weirder.
The Kwok brothers end times prophecy. It's starting to make sense, he says. Hey, by the way, guys, look at all the books in his background. Didn't I warn you all about that? Guys with books in the background? I'm just telling you. It's the thing to do. End times prophecy ultimate update. I don't know how people. Some people watch this stuff every day. Like they're subscribed to these channels that are just end times prophecy every day. Like scare me again. I love it. Scare me. I mean, it's sadomasochistic, isn't it? A little bit. I mean, Kings Chapel, Alaska. What happens to America in the end times? Ooh, Tiff Shuttlesworth. Are we in the end times? Let's see. What else? We got some more. Israel gets ready for war. The tipping point with Jimmy Evans.
Welcome to the Tipping Point Show. I'm Jimmy Evans.
Jimmy Evans has nothing better to do with his time than tell you it's the end of days every day. Every day. Who's this guy? Ooh. Who is this guy? Bill Saw. Bill Saw, too. Okay, I don't care. Whoever Bill Saw is. But you can see when people go looking now. This is the other scary thing, is when people go looking, YouTube has a ton of stuff served up, ready to go for you. And it's all of this stuff. It's all of this NASA, North America's worst disaster in 300 years, about to happen in 2023. Oh, look, it's, what's his face? That guy. I hate that guy. Yeah. So anyway, I mean, this is the stuff Oh, here's Elon Musk apparently confirming the rapture is going to happen very soon. Elon Musk got rapture ready. He confirms it's going to happen.
Leave you astonished. Just confirmed something that will leave you astonished. So join us as we dive into this eye-opening video to explore what he has to say about the rapture and why it's going to happen very soon.
This is so terrible. Like, this is horrible. In fact, there is nothing Elon Musk has ever said to say that the rapture is coming soon. But this video is, it's horrible. It's lying. Look at the videos on his channel. Oh my gosh. No wonder people are scared, like worried about that. Deborah Miller, good morning. It's good to see you on here. I mean, it's crazy that there's some people that wait every day. There's a new video on this channel. They're waiting and watching every video. These old ladies, you know, are in their homes shaking and shivering and freaking out because they have a picture like this to wake up to with the Prince Andrew or King Andrew, I guess, and the demon of demons, the Antichrist or something. It's crazy talk. It's craziness. And they're gonna crazy everyone right into the corral that they want them to be in. This is a psyop and a ploy to get people to move in a certain direction. That's exactly what this is. And again, I didn't see it before. I was in it. I was believing it. I mean, I didn't watch stuff like this every day. I just didn't care that much. But some people do, you know. I guess I always kind of did have in the back of my mind that, I just don't know if it's all the same as people are saying it is going to be. I just didn't know. And I did know this. I did know that more than half of what I was being told about end times was likely made up by somebody. And I just didn't know anything about it until I really dug in myself and started studying the scriptures and what they say about the prophecies. To be honest, before I did that, I probably just hadn't read the prophecies very much. But after you read them a lot, some things start to make sense. You start to realize that maybe when Daniel was prophesying or getting the vision from God about the, quote, end time, the last age, or the end of the age, rather, that it was the end of his age. Perhaps, just like all the other prophecies, it was a few hundred years in the future, which is exactly what it was. And yes, Jesus came about 400 or 500 years from the time of Daniel. And there you have it. It's over. As far as Daniel's prophecies about that, it's over. And it happened because that was what those people would have expected. They wouldn't have expected to get a prophecy that was 3,000 years in the future. And that's just one of the basic evidences that the whole theories of eschatology right now, like this, are just so wrong. They're just so wrong. Not that there isn't an end. I believe there is an end, by the way. But I think all of this is men's additions to what the end may be. And the people that are anti-God, the Satanists, they will push this fear into the Christian community as heavily as they can because it serves their purposes. Fear, as you guys said, I think already in the chat, fear is the mind killer. Watch the movie Dune, and I swear, the movie Dune 2, the next one that's coming out, is going to be epic. Epic. But I'm just saying, fear is the mind killer, and we do not have a spirit of fear, as you said, Laura Masood. If you're running in fear, then you are at the behest of the devil. You are under control if you are in fear. Do you see that? That's the best way to think about it. If you're in fear, you are under control by someone. So if you're allowing fear to move you, you are under control. You are not in sovereign control of your mind. So that will be the goal of the people who can pull these kinds of strings and put the stuff I'm showing you on the screen online. That's the goal. Yes, Yoda, your fear leads to suffering. Exactly. Oh, goodness. And in response to you, Tanda, on the Elon, you think Elon is preparing us to accept the fake alien abduction with a rapture explanation. That is possible, but I mean, there's definitely... Now, I just want to say this. Now, you may think things about Elon. I know he's not no saint, but I do think he has changed, shifted in the past few years, very pronouncedly. But I don't think he's a saint even now. But I will say this. He's not the one pushing the alien agenda right now. By the way, did you hear that the Pentagon, the military, the Pentagon deep state, the DARPA, the Lockheed Martins, they're the ones releasing the information. The Pentagon put out a website on Friday, or I think it was, that is a clearinghouse for their information on UFOs. They are pushing the alien narrative. The military and the Pentagon, the deep state, they are pushing the narrative. I can't tell you how many times Hillary Clinton wanted to disclose the UFO phenomenon. And then there was, who was it? Oh, yeah, Tony Podesta. Or John Podesta. Yeah, it was John Podesta. He made a huge deal in the press about disclosure of the UFO and alien phenomenon. You got to think about who it is saying the things. It is the military and the deep state right now. And Elon Musk is not the one saying that stuff. He's not the one. And he's no saint, but I don't think that's the right place to look for that. You need to look at the Pentagon and the dark projects and DARPA and NASA. They're the ones pushing that. So be careful about all that. It's hard. There's tons of stuff going on right now. Laura, you say Elon doesn't look like a man in charge of many businesses and father of many children. He seems like he's in name only doing these things. I don't think that Elon is the genius that everyone makes him out to be. I think he is a smart guy. I mean, there's lots of smart guys, but he's on this pedestal that is indicative of a cabal move. Let's make him the genius. We make him the commensurate genius. Whenever the cabal does that, they're doing it for a reason. And they did it back in the day. That happened a long time ago, by the way. Let's make Elon the commensurate genius. You know what they did at that time? What they do at that time? That was about the time Barack Obama became president. And then what happened? Oh, they moved most of the space exploration and, all that stuff from the government that was under NASA. They moved a lot of it out to private companies. They moved it to SpaceX and Blue Origin and Virgin Galactic. They privatized the space exploration so they had more control over it. And Elon was the puppet. Okay? Elon was the puppet they used for that. Do you remember all the green initiative when Obama became president? What happened? They gave millions and millions and millions of dollars to SpaceX, to Elon Musk, because he had a, quote, green initiative inside Tesla. They built him, okay? The money built him. Now, whether he's working for them now or not, I do not think that's the case. I don't think he is. I think he has gone off the rails in their eyes, and he's working with other groups. I don't think he's an angel, but I think he's taken like a plea deal or a bargain where he does his part and they do theirs. But just realize what happened with all that green energy initiative that Obama did. He took all the money from the green initiatives, he poured it into the companies that he wanted to succeed and build. It's pretty masterful, actually. I saw it happen in real time. So, Rafa Sieber, you say, no one in that position of power is there randomly. All puppets, if not puppets, then compromised. Yeah, I'm careful not to say broad statements, but there's this level of legendary that I see occur that is a propaganda status, right? It's a propaganda status. For instance, Einstein, legendary, right? Propaganda. You get to celebrities now. You get to celebrities and you see the same thing. For instance, Taylor Swift, legendary now. And she is in bed with the deep state. You've got Beyonce, who they say is legendary diva. She is in bed with the deep state. When you see this rise to fame that turns from just fame into something like epic, something above all others, that's the work of the deep state. So that's what I try to be careful of. You know, not every person out there is a bad person. There's a lot of people that have changed, that are or were never bad, but you know, just aren't part of the cabal. You know, but anyway. All right, that's enough of that. All right, what do you guys want to do? There's just a few minutes left, probably, unless there's some other thing. I think that is all our topics. The one I didn't get to was April Parker's on the fifth trumpet and the drawing of the Euphrates. That is a topic that I didn't get to today. And I think I will leave that until maybe next time. Because I haven't seen her on anyway, and I wanted to... and we did a bunch of others already, so maybe we'll do that. So I'll give you guys a few minutes if there's anything else you want to talk about before we finish up. Thank you for joining today. I've had a great time as always. I'm always willing to talk about anything you guys want to talk about. As if, as you make up the topics and we just go. I'm so excited that you guys joined today and we've had a great conversation. And again, think of each other, please, throughout the week. Think of me. Let's pray for one another. Let's not forgo that part of being a family, because I do feel like we're a family here online. And let's think about each other. Connect up. By the way, you can always connect with me on my website. I have my email address just pasted there. I had people having trouble with the form, but you can just grab my email and you can just email me. It's not a problem. So please use that if you want to connect with me or with anyone else. There may be a chance if you want to connect with someone else that I know about them. I know their contact information and can ask them if it would be all right for you to connect. So I would be happy to try to connect people if you want to do that. Sandra Cook, it's good to have you this week. I'm glad that you were here. Thank you. All right, guys. Have a great Sunday, a great Labor Day weekend. I hope that you guys have some good things planned. I'm going to have a relaxing weekend, I think. And God bless you all. Take care of yourselves. And again, pray for one another. Bye.